So today we're going to be talking about the best potential matchups in the UFC today. Some of these matchups will be more obvious than others. Some of them may be title fights. Some of them you may not have heard of. And all of them have in common, though, that they're all great stylistic matchups and all have potential to be fight of the night, if not some of the best fights of the year. So let's just jump right into it. The first matchup that I'm going to be talking about is a potential matchup for two fighters in the lightweight division, one of which has a fight booked that's fighting this weekend, actually, which is Rafael Fiziev. And the way I'm thinking about this is either if Fiziev loses to Gamrot, which I don't think he'll do, or if Hooker gets another win, probably more like 2 wins, possibly 1, depending who he gets matched up with. But if Fiziev loses to Gamrot, or if Hooker gets another big win, or maybe 2 less big wins, and is a little more up the rankings. But nevertheless, it would be an exciting matchup between two strikers. Hooker's known for his insane durability, his great speed, he has pretty good accuracy. Fiziev has explosive power, he's very fast, and he has elite Muay Thai. So those are his strengths. Quite similar strengths, some of them have in common. Hooker's longer and rangier, but Hooker can work in the pocket. That's the thing. A lot of the guys that are taller and rangier that fight with behind the long shots, which Hooker can do, are less comfortable in the pocket, and they're not as good in the pocket. Like a lot of the times when you see a short, stocky striker versus a tall, long striker, it's the short guy trying to get in the pocket, and once he's in there, it's like, oh no, like the rangier guy kind of falls apart. You know what I mean? But Hooker, no, he's really good in the pocket because of his crazy chin that he has. Like we saw that one in Dustin Poirier fight. He was eating big shots off Poirier, giving him some back. Like, yeah, he got a pretty bad beating in that fight, but to act like it wasn't close and like he wasn't given, for a good part of the fight, he was given as much as he was taking. And then Poirier started to really turn it up in like the later 4th and 5th rounds. But it was a great fight, and it really showed how tough Hooker is, even though we all know how tough he is. And his fight with Jalen Turner showed that as well, when he ate that clean head kick off Turner, didn't even phase him, and he weathered the storm, and it really looked like he was going to finish Turner at times in that fight. Like I remember, I think it was in round 2, he dropped Turner like really towards the end of the round. I think he had like a choke in at one point too. Like there was a couple times where he was really close to finishing Turner, even though he had been hurt and had been eating some big shots off Turner, which is expected because Turner's a long guy and he kind of catches guys he catches them off guard with his range. You know, like that is what happened with Brad Riddell. Like Brad Riddell, I think it was like Brad Riddell kicked him and then was like kind of assuming that since I just landed that kick, I'm not in punching range, and then Turner just cracked him, and then he got a guillotine. So Turner's so long, like Hooker's long for the lightweight division, and Hooker was taller than him, and I'm sure Hooker was not used to fighting guys that are taller than him at lightweight. You know what I mean? I'm sure he was surprised by that himself. Fiziev prefers to get inside due to his shorter frame. He doesn't have long arms, he doesn't have long legs, so he can't really fight at distance that well. He can point fight, but he can't pick you apart at distance, especially not a guy who's longer than him. It's not going to be his path to victory. His path to victory will be to work his way inside and then get work done when he's in close. I think the body work from Fiziev will help him, because if we do think back to one time where Dan Hooker was stopped with strikes, it was by Barbosa, who really was putting in that body work. And Hooker's tough, but with these tough guys, that's a good game plan, is to work the body, because no matter how tough you are, no matter how much of a chin you have, if you're getting whipped to the body hard, and especially in the 3rd round, it's late second, 3rd round, when you're tired, really doesn't matter how tough or how much of a chin you have, because those body shots will get to you. And I think that Fiziev's best path to victory would probably be to try and work the body, wear Hooker down, and then I could see him possibly going back upstairs, if he does hurt Hooker to the body, and maybe catching him there. And then Hooker's path to victory, or his specific move that he's good at that could help him against Fiziev, I should say, is his knees up the middle. Hooker has very, very good knees up the middle. If you think back to his earlier career, he knocked out a lot of guys. Like he knocked out Jim Miller with one of them. I mean, this was way back. Like this was a long time ago, but still, Hooker still has that in his arsenal. And I think that he could really use this against a guy like Fiziev, who he loves to kind of come in, kind of dip his head down, duck under shots, getting close. So I think if he can catch Fiziev coming in, trying to close that distance and get inside to do work, he can fire a knee up the middle. And I think he can hurt Fiziev with one of these shots badly, maybe even put him out with one of these shots if it lands clean enough. So yeah, I think that would be a great fight. I mean, it doesn't really work out now. When I first started writing down this video, it was before that fight got booked with Gamrot, so it doesn't really work out now, because if Fiziev wins that fight, which I think he will, then he's probably not going to fight down, and Hooker is ranked, I believe, 9th, and I think Fiziev is 10th. So it does, I think, Fiziev is 6th, sorry, Fiziev is 6th, I'm pretty sure. So I think that if Fiziev beats Gamrot, he'll probably be back in the top 5, and he'll be looking to get another fight in the top 5, like maybe a Dariush, or like I don't even know, maybe like a Dariush or someone like that. I don't know. What I mean is I don't think he'll be looking to fight down if he beats Gamrot, which I think he will. So by the off chance he loses to Gamrot, then he can book this fight. But I think Hooker won't be the one who needs to get a win or two and then be on the level of Fiziev. But I think when they're at that level, that is a great matchup to make. Anyways, the next fight is a more, like, I'm sure almost everyone watching this video is aware of this matchup, but I have to talk about it making a video like this. Yuri versus Poatan. Now this fight has potential to be fight of the year. In like whatever, even if it's next year, I'm going to go on a limb and say that it has the potential to be fight of the year, even though it's crazy, because we have no idea how next year is going to turn out. Next year could be the greatest fight of all time, but I think that this has some potential to be an absolute war, because both guys like to impose their will. Both guys like to march guys down. They're both strikers. Neither guy's going to be shooting a double or a single. I mean, maybe Yuri if he's really in trouble, but I don't think he's not the kind of guy to shoot a panic takedown. You know, he'll go out on his shield, or he'll go out swinging if he goes out. And anyways, so it's another absolute barn burner. It's guaranteed. You know, it's the technical master kickboxer, 2-time Glory champ, potential 2-time 2-division UFC champ, and versus the unorthodox wizard who just makes it work with his chin and his grit, and he's just such a savage. You know what I mean? It's like you look at him fight, it's like, oh, how is he not getting starched? But it's like he throws, like, the one thing about Yuri that people kind of don't give him credit for is how he's very creative on the feet, and he throws, well, they do give him, no, I shouldn't say that, everyone gives him his prop for being creative, but the way he throws punches from weird angles, I think he can really give Alex some trouble with that, because Alex, with his hands down defense, is he relies a lot on slipping and seeing these punches coming, rather than having his guard up and relying on his guard being up to stop shots, even if he doesn't see him coming at the last second. You know what I mean? So when Yuri's throwing these shots from these weird angles, Alex isn't going to be able to see them coming as well. So he might not be able to defend them as well. And they both have knockout power. I would say Alex has the more power in his punches, even though Yuri has power. We saw him when he knocked out Ozdemir. Alex has a different level of power. I mean, there's not many guys in the UFC who can go up there in terms of power with Alex. I mean, I can't really think of anyone who, like, in terms of like maybe Pavlovich, but I don't even know. Like, I would say Pavlovich probably, but anyone that's not in the heavyweight division, I don't think there's anybody who has as much power as Alex. So it's like, what I mean is, just because Alex hits harder, Yuri still hits extremely hard. It's just you have to be a different level of beast to hit harder than Alex. So then Yuri doesn't do the best job protecting his chin, which we all know is probably one of the biggest. I don't know if it's a hole. I mean, it is a hole, but I mean, it's not causing him to lose, so it's not that big of a hole. But it is definitely a hole in Yuri's game, that he doesn't do the best job protecting his chin. Like, he's kind of one of those wild guys who has his chin up in the air, his hands are down. You're watching him fight, you're like, geez, this guy's gonna get caught, and he does, but he doesn't get stopped. He has great recovery. He has a very good chin, which is kind of makes sense, because you wouldn't be able to get away with that fighting style and, like, get into the UFC. Well, I mean, maybe if you were not through, like, how Yuri did. Like, Yuri was extremely proven when he got into the UFC, while his debut was a guy like Volkan. Like, I know we saw that other guy, I think his name was like, I don't remember his name, he was like Bogdan something, the guy who came in and fought Volkan on his debut. But, like, back when Yuri fought him, Volkan was a little more up there in the division, and then Yuri was very proven, and a guy doesn't come into the UFC proven like that with a style like Yuri's if they don't have a chin. You know, like, it doesn't work. But I think that the left hook could be open for Pereira if he sets it up well, because Yuri's hands are down. So if he sets it up well, Yuri can't really defend it, and he's gonna get clipped. And it's like that's not really one of the shots I could see Yuri eating. But also, yeah, that's really how I see Pereira winning is capitalizing on Yuri's lack of striking defense and his open chin. But I think that regardless, this fight's going to be amazing. I do think that it will end in a finish for either guy, and if I had to pick, I would probably say Pereira, just because he's more technical. But at the same time, I a lot of people forget that like these wild man striking styles can sometimes overwhelm and catch guys off guard that are more technical. It has happened before, you know what I mean? Like guys have been less technical, but that wild man style kind of like, you know, like when like a real technical striker is used to sparring guys who are also and fighting guys who are also technical, so they kind of expect you to be technical, but when you come out guns blazing and like don't give a flying fuck about anything, it can kind of catch them off guard, and I could see that happening too. But I think if I had to put money on it, I would probably put money on Pereira. But this is one of the matchups that is almost guaranteed to be a future matchup for the UFC. Like this one's been talked about and it's pretty much confirmed in terms of the next fight for both guys after Poatan just beat Blachowicz like he did. But even though it was a decision, he still beat him, and he's still next up for the title shot. So the next fight I'm going to be talking about is Renato Moicano versus Matt Frevola. Now, I know there's talks of Frevola fighting Paddy Pimblett. I don't think they're going to make that matchup. I just don't think that the UFC is going to give that matchup to Paddy. I think it's a very hard matchup for him. Frevola is a decent grappler, so it's not like Paddy gets a hold of him and it's over. And Frevola has some devastating power in his hands. Like, I know people are going to say, oh, he's chinny, he got KO'd by Terrence McKinney in, 5 seconds. But, like, yeah, you could argue that, but I don't think that was more. I think that was like a perfect shot from Terrence, capitalizing on the naked leg kick. I don't think that was like a shot that he should have ate, but just got put out by. That was just like, I wouldn't say it was a fluke, but it was kind of a one-off loss for Frevola. If he doesn't get knocked out like that, like first round starts in the first 10 seconds, like that win has aged very well for McKinney. Like, even though McKinney's career kind of fell off after that, with a few losses that he's had now, that win has aged amazingly, considering Frevola knocked out Azaitar back in November, and now he's just knocked out Dober. Like, that is a great win. Like, Dober was the Crimson Chin, like the guy who's never getting knocked out, and Frevola went out there and put him down. I know it was a bit of an early stoppage, but I know Dober wasn't out like cold, but he was out. You know, that was a knockout. But anyways, number 14 and number 15, both coming off finishes. So they both have some pretty good momentum. Moicano hasn't fought. He hasn't been as active as Frevola has. Like, Frevola has fought, I think he's fought twice since Moicano's last fight. Let me check Moicano's last fight. It was it was Brad Riddell at 281. So, it was on the same card. It was on the same card as Frevola. So that was Day or Live. How did I forget that? But it was on the same card as Frevola Azaitar. Sorry. So Frevola has fought once since Moicano's last fight, which was on the same card that he knocked out Azaitar on, which was the win over Dober. And Frevola has very powerful hands for lightweight, and his hands are fast as well. You know, he hits hard for that division, and he does have some speed in his combos and his hooks. They're pretty fast. Like, when he knocked out Azaitar, he was just much faster than him, and he got that punch before Azaitar was able to get his hands up or land his own. And Moicano is fast on the feet. I will give him that. He does have pretty fast hands, but his specialty is his grappling, especially his rear naked choke. He's finished a lot of fights with the rear naked choke. Like, he finished Alexander Hernandez with the rear naked choke. He finished Brad Riddell with the rear naked choke. Like, I know these guys aren't like amazing guys, but he finished Hadzovic. He finished Cub Swanson. Like, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he finished Jai Herbert. His last 5 wins have all been by rear naked choke. So he's a grappler first submission specialist, but he does have fast hands. But as we saw, his striking defense isn't the best. Like, he got knocked out by Fiziev. He was knocked out by TKZ way back, but I'm sure he's improved on it a little bit. But it is open there for Frevola, and but that would be Moicano's path to victory, would be to get Frevola down and then work his way to the back and look for that choke. But Frevola does have that grappling to fall back on, so it's not like it's an easy path to victory for Moicano. Like, it is going to be difficult. I couldn't see him subbing Frevola with ease. It would probably be in like the second or the third round if he was to do it. But that would be his path to victory. And then I'd say Frevola's path to victory would be to keep the fight standing, because he has the advantage, and I could see him winning by KO if he is able to keep the fight standing. Like, if Moicano kind of abandons the takedowns after, like, midway through the second round and is like, all right, I'm not going to get this guy down, at least not for now, let me stand with him. I think that then he might end up eating some big shots and probably getting put down and out. The next fight on the card, I think I'm doing a breakdown. The next fight I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to edit that out. The next fight on the next matchup I'm going to be talking about is a featherweight matchup, which is Brian Ortega versus Movsar Evloev. Now, both guys are grapplers, so it's kind of like that kind of a stylistic matchup. Not that they're both going to be grappling. And it's a wrestler versus the BJJ guy. You know, Ortega is a BJJ specialist. The next match I'm going to be talking about is a featherweight matchup between Movsar Evloev versus Brian Ortega. Now, this matchup would be interesting because both guys are very good grapplers. You know, Evloev is the wrestling specialist, whereas Ortega is the jiu-jitsu guy. And I know Ortega's been on a bit of a downward spiral. It's been a while since he's got a submission, but he still does have that jiu-jitsu. We saw it in his fight with Volkanovski. He almost submitted Volkanovski twice. I mean, the guillotine was much closer, but like that guillotine was in deep. That would have tapped a lot of guys. And the fact he was able to get that on Volkanovski shows that his jiu-jitsu is still very high level. But yeah, even though he's inactive, he's still a BJJ ace. And Movsar Evloev is the undefeated wrestler. You know, he's hailing out of Russia. I mean, he's got that wrestling background that has been so dominant in the sport for the past 5+ years. You know, these Russian background wrestling guys have just been amazing. You know, the level of just overall MMA. Like, they're not just wrestlers. They are comfortable on the feet, and they can withstand a bit of striking to impose their will. But neither guy is really anything to write home about on the feet. Well, I would say Ortega probably has, like, I don't even know. Like, he probably has better striking, but, like, he was getting beat up by Holloway and Volk, who are, like, I know they're, like, all the elite strikers, so I don't think I'm going to give him too much for that. Like, Cater was getting destroyed by Holloway, and you can't say Cater's not a good striker. You know, he is. I think he would piece up Ortega, for example. But, yeah, neither guy's amazing on the feet. Like, Movsar was getting tagged up by Diego Lopez. And, like, I love Diego Lopez, but, like, he's not even ranked. Ortega has to fight down, as he's still ranked 3. And even though he's been fighting less than a year, like, he's been fighting less than once a year on average for the past 5 years. I think he has 4 fights in the past 5 years or something like that. And he needs to fight down. Like, I think Evloev ranked, like, maybe, I think he's 9th or 6th or something like that. He needs to fight down. And I think Movsar is ready for that big jump up. He was supposed to get that fight with Bryce Mitchell. That would have put him in the right direction. But he just didn't. Like, even though he's ranked as Bryce's 10, he ended up fighting an unranked guy in Diego Lopez on short notice. So it would be a pretty big jump up, about like 6 jumps up the rankings. But if we're looking at the rankings right now, we have Arnold Allen, who lost to Holloway, and then who got the win over Cater, but it was by injury. So he had his big shot to get up the rankings, and he lost. We have Josh Emmett, who, like, come on, he just got crap beat out of him by Topuria, and then was finished by Yair in the fight before that. Calvin Cater, who is injured, he's injured right now, so he's not really in the equation. Giga Shikadze, who just had a close fight with Alex Caceres, who's number 14. So yeah, like, there are a lot of guys ahead of Movsar, but it's not like these guys are, like, all deserving of this big jump up. Like, they've all had their chance to get into the top 5. Ilya is the one in the top 5 now. Arnold Allen is in the top 5. So, like, if we're looking at Emmett, Cater, and Shikadze, the guys who are ahead of Evloev and Emmett and that are not in the top 5, I believe that Evloev definitely deserves a shot at the top 5 over all these guys. And then Ilya is fighting for the title next, so, like, he doesn't really count. I mean, I know he counts, but, like, he has a title fight already. So, like, I think that it isn't too crazy of a jump up for Evloev, is what I mean. Even though it looks like it might be on paper when you look at the rankings. So yeah, that was more or less most of the matchups I had. I'll definitely be making another video like this in the future of more matchups, and I'm looking to drop my predictions and breakdowns video for the upcoming UFC Fight Night card, which I said before is Fiziev versus Gamrot on Friday. So I'll see you guys then, and hope you enjoyed this video.